Super Talk 99.7 WT, and I'm sorry I did not mean to laugh as I was coming back from that break. My apologies for being a little bit late. I was late. I caused Ken to be a little late, and for that, I'm sincerely sorry.
It's all right, Brother Murphy. That was a good interview.
I thought so, too. We're going to continue talking about that. We'll try to explain to those of you who may be caught at right in the middle exactly what we were discussing with regard to the appropriations bill and how that applies to hemp manufacturing across the United States of America and how it ultimately applies to what you may or may not put in your body legally in the state of Tennessee. 615-737-9986 is the telephone number if you'd like to be a part of the show, 615-737-9986. If you missed any portion of the interview with Scott Desjardins, never fear. Podcast will be up and running a little bit later on tonight. You can find that on all manner of platforms where you find Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So several of you have reacted. That's what I was giggling about as I was coming back from break. A couple of folks are very upset with me, saying that I'm very rude. For example, 3180 says, you are an arrogant, rude person. Shame on you. I said, I hate to think my direct approach has offended your sensibilities. Please allow me to offer my apologies. And the response was, there's nothing wrong with being direct. You're just a rude person. That might be fair. That might be a fair comment. 6537 said, seems like an unprovoked attack against the congressman. I don't think Scott took it as an attack. I think Scott took it as a direct comment regarding something that matters a lot to the people of Tennessee and matters a lot to the people that he represents. And I do not believe that it is the role of the federal government to dictate these types of things to the states. And I'm fascinated. I am not a conservative, nor am I a Republican, but I am fascinated at the amount of conservative/Republicans that I'm a libertarian, just so y'all know. I'm fascinated with the amount of conservatives that go to Washington, D.C. based on a small government mindset. And as they campaign on the federal government is too involved in your life. We need to bring power back to the states, power back to the local communities. And then somehow on selected issues, they lose their minds. And I'm not talking about Scott directly, but these politicians lose their minds and decide that, you know, what they have to say to their Sunday school class is more important than what they have to say regarding constitutional conservatism. Or maybe it's not in their Sunday school class. Maybe I'm assuming too much. Maybe it's to their buddies at the dinner party in Washington, D.C. that belong to the pharmaceutical industry. Or maybe it's their lobbyist buddies at the Washington, D.C. parties that belong to the alcohol industry. Because these two lobbies spend millions of dollars against the idea of any sort of legalization of THC products that could be beneficial with regard to medical marijuana and otherwise. That's not being rude. That's being direct. The bottom line is this. I believe that politically it's a losing issue. I believe that realistically, on the ground, it's a losing issue. Scott led off with, and I let him, he led off with, in his answer, this nonsense about kids and kids getting their hands on the gummies, and we call them gummies on the Matt Murphy show. I forget do you remember the name of the member of the General Assembly that called them gummies? I can't remember his name.
I wasn't here.
You weren't here during that time?
No.
You weren't here during the gummy time? Oh, you missed out, Jackson.
It's a Knoxville.
It was a
Knoxville
senator from Knoxville called them gummies. Said, these gummies, we got to get rid of these gummies. These gummies are causing a lot of disruption in my hometown. Got to deal with these gummies. And remember, the next day, I went out to Tim's Ford Lake, and I found the biggest gummy I'd ever seen in my life. Yeah. And I bought it for Ken, and I don't think I ever gave it to him. I remember what happened. I gave it to Scotty out at Tim's Ford Lake. That gummy was about as big as him.
That's Senator Richard Briggs.
There you go. That's a nice pull. Thank you, Ken. Senator Briggs was very concerned about the gummies. 5354 says, directly rude, I suppose. And then 8007 says, why aren't you so passionate about blood pressure medicine or thyroid medicine or any of the other prescription drugs out there that don't get you high? I would love to be able to get my own medicine to take. I would love for you to be able to do that too. I think you're barking up the wrong tree, 8007, if you want to go down that route, because I have a lot of questions about why we involve the government in the licensing of medical professionals to begin with. I have a lot of questions about that. I don't know that it's necessarily the government's job telling me whom I may or may not go to with regard to my medical health at all. But, you know, that's the system that we've come up with, that the government is there to act as a regulator with regard to who can and cannot practice medicine. In other words, the government dictates to you who is a licensed medical professional and who is not, and they determine who keeps their licenses and who doesn't. And I believe that the government's far too in bed with some industry that, well, let's put it this way. I don't believe that the government should be the final voice in all of that. I believe in people being able to make their own decisions with regard to their own medical care, too. So, yeah, I would love to see less government interaction when it comes to your blood pressure medicine, less government interaction when it comes to your thyroid medicine. I'd like to see your opportunity to select your drugs in a manner of your choosing to be opened up for you. And because you own you, the government doesn't own you, nor should we allow them to take ownership of you. Now, when it comes to medical marijuana, it is for me, first and foremost, a matter of health. I understand that the recreational folks want to get high, and I don't have a problem with that either. Because once again, we live in a society where people are free to live a life of their own choosing so long as they're not endangering the lives of other people directly or indirectly. It's why my dad said something to me years and years ago that has stuck with me, and it is, every man deserves to go to hell in his own fashion. And it's stuck with me because of the approach of every man deserves to go to heaven in his own fashion too, right? But it's the phraseology of it, that even against someone's better judgment, even if their family and friends try to push them in a different direction, if you want to live a life of destruction, if you're not damaging the lives of other people in a freedom-loving society, who is to say that you may not do so? And as sad as it might be in our society, if someone wants to drink themselves to death, isn't that their right? I mean, that's sad, but true. Yet, somehow along the way, we've picked winners and losers when it comes to a lot of that. Somewhere along the way, we've allowed big industry to dictate what can or cannot be prescribed, what can or cannot be utilized for the betterment of mankind. From a recreational standpoint, that's one discussion. A medical standpoint is another discussion entirely. But one way or the other, there are a lot of people that have seen the benefits of THC-based cannabinoids. There are a lot of Tennesseans that have served their country, a lot of Tennesseans that live absolutely normal lives. They get up and they go to work and they get home and they have pain here, there, or everywhere, or they're trying to get to sleep and they have difficulty sleeping, and they utilize THC as a manner to help them do so, that aren't very happy with the idea of the government using this shutdown as a pick against the hemp industry. So if you missed it, what Desjardins explained to us, and he wasn't necessarily lobbying one way or the other, he's voting for the thing, though, is that in the midst of the continuing resolution to keep the government open, the Senate has also passed 3 appropriations measures. They have 9 others to get through. And the House of Representatives is going to vote on those 3 appropriations measures, and one of them is an agricultural appropriation, which is now disallowing the production of THC-based hemp products nationwide, which would disallow certain products that are currently legal in the state of Tennessee, to include Delta 8-based products, Delta 9-based products, and Delta 10. And I think Delta 9 is already illegal in the state of Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. Because that's more of the Delta 9-based, as Scott alluded to, 8 and 10 have minor or low-level amounts of THC. Delta 9 has a higher allowable level of THC, which is a product that is going to get you high, for lack of a better way of putting it. 615-737-9986. Real quick, we'll get to AJ before we get to a break. Hello, AJ. How are you?
Hey, good. I'm going to be real quick. I feel like what they say is true about weed being a gateway drug. I've been a long-time smoker, but it's not what you think. When you want to get weed in small amounts and you're not a really true smoker, you buy it from your friend who might be selling it, But then when you want to get a good deal on it, you got to go hit up the big guy. And the big guy usually doesn't stop at selling just weed because he's a criminal. He breaks laws to make fast, quick money, right? He probably sells cocaine. He sells a bunch of other stuff that you're going to, kind of be introduced to, which I was, but I was smart enough not to gravitate towards it. But what I'm trying to say is when you make it illegal, people that do sell it are criminals, like the big guys. And they usually deal in other things too, just not weed alone. So I feel like if you make it legal, it's just going to stop a lot of criminals from, like getting our kids to try other stuff. Like I would go buy, weed from my guy, and somebody else was going there to buy some oxy or buying some pills, and you learn about those things, and then you start getting curious. Hey, what it's like? Let me give it a try. Then one thing leads to another, and then you're hooked on a different drug that has nothing to do with weed, and weed was the reason you got introduced to it because you wanted to get it at a good deal, and your homeboy, he's charging too much for it.
I understand some people's objections to what they think culturally is going to occur. Thank you, AJ, for the call. Culturally, what will occur if there's an introduction of, for example, the recreational sale of marijuana. I also understand, and I've said this for years, that making marijuana illegal in our communities is not in any way preventing individuals from getting their hands on marijuana. As a matter of fact, I have never in my life approached anyone in the state of Tennessee for the purchase of marijuana and wouldn't. But I would argue to you that I would bet you $1,000. I've never known of anyone in the state of Tennessee that sells or buys. But I would be willing to bet you $1,000 that I could leave this studio and within an hour I could come back with dope. I guarantee you that I could. You could too. And it's not that I know people. I don't know anybody. I'm just telling you that's how much I believe how prevalent the sale of marijuana is in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's illegal to do so. Now, if you want to crack down on that, so be it. Jackson's leaving. Jackson's decided that he's out of here. All right, you testing this theory?
Yeah, I'll be back in an hour.
It wouldn't take you 15 minutes. Just get out of the parking lot, take a left, go right down. Well, anyway. 23 after the hour, Super Talk 99. I bet you could be back by the end of the break. You just got to go out to your car, right? That's a joke, everybody.
Are you trying to get me arrested?
We're just funning around. Don't listen to me. Jackson drives a big GMC 2500. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. And this is the Matt Murphy Show. It's just after 4:20. See what I did there?
Yes.
Just after 4:20. It's 4:29, actually, on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Oh, we got time for Mike and Old Hickory for a minute. Hey, Mike.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm great, Mike. How are you?
I thought we were talking about the CR.
Okay.
And you went deep in the weeds on marijuana.
Deep in the weeds. That's funny, Mike.
That's way to go, brother Mike.
There you go. That's cute.
Yeah, well, you have.
This show's going to pot, Mike.
Yeah, it sure is. So let's get back to reality. The congressman you had on, you started out well. There's going to be a vote tonight, right, on the CR.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he said by the time we wake up tomorrow, Mike, we will have government open again.
We'll have government open and everything's fine and never a problem to be in the future. But it only goes to January, right?
It goes to January 30th. The approbes, yeah.
Yep.
So
And
nine of the 12, 3 of the 12 are taken care of in the CR. Yeah.
So, but we run out of money again.
All right, Mike, I can't believe I'm saying this, Mike, but I'm going to put you on hold. I can't believe I'm saying it only because your call has been interesting enough for me to merit a hold from you because I got to get to the news, and I promised that I would do so. It's 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, I got a lot of things going on around here. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Happy to have you with us. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We will readdress the penny conversation that we had during the first hour. Yes, we can talk about the latest on the, quote, Epstein files, if you so desire. We're discussing the possibility of a nationwide THC/hemp ban, which has been included in the Agricultural Appropriation Bill, which is going to the House of Representatives. Now, it's my understanding, and Ken Weaver and I were talking about this before the show, Rand Paul had an amendment on the CR that would have eliminated the ban on the hemp, which is going to dramatically impact Kentucky's economy. It will hurt Tennessee's economy. I think I saw the figure of $25 million, $25 million impacted in the state of Tennessee alone because a lot of the hemp/THC product is grown in and around the South. So it's going to impact our economies. Rand Paul tried to do something about it in the Senate. To his credit, he did not hold up the CR as a result of his frustration, but he thought about it. Well, now it goes to the House of Representatives where the amendment is still on the table. It has been tabled, but it still exists. It's not been killed, so let's see what happens to that. In the meantime, Mike was in Old Hickory, or is still in Old Hickory, and Mike, I wanted you an opportunity to finish up.
Yep. Well, we're still sitting here. We're watching the vote, and guess what? The poll ratings of Trump and the Republican Party now are hemorrhaging because he's not doing what he said he was going to do in this term. And guess what? We're watching
Chicken butt
guys that look, man.
That's funny. Come on,
now.
Mike. That's funny. You know that's funny. Guess what? Chicken butt. You know.
Come on.
Guess why? Chicken thigh.
Let's smoke a little marijuana, Matt, and then we'll get together.
Maybe I already have, Mike. You never know.
And maybe that's where we need to be. The whole country smoking marijuana together. How about that?
Pass along them doobies, Mike.
Yeah, and then get Rand Paul to build a factory up there in Kentucky to build them.
Mike, you ever
listen? I'm going to get back to.
Mike, no, hold on, Mike. I want to get back to that too, but no, we need to talk about this for a minute. I need to ask you a question.
I'm going to get back to the CR.
Mike, you ever rolled a fatty?
If the CR passes tonight,
Mike,
does it only get us to January? And then we go through this again. Does the CR tonight passing, forget the marijuana crap that you're pushing.
Mike?
Let's just get to the CR.
Okay, I have a very serious question. Let's talk about the CR. I have a very serious question about that.
CR passes,
all right, let me ask you the question. Let me ask you the question about that.
January.
Let me ask you
the January.
I need to ask you the question. What happens? Okay, Mike, you ready for the question?
Then what happens, Matt?
Are you ready for the question?
You're not listening. I'm trying to ask you a question. You're trying to tell me what you think. I'm just saying, if the CR passes right now tonight,
I got you all worked up.
January,
man, Mike.
Then where do we go?
You need to calm down. Calm down, brother. Have another toke. Simmer down.
I don't smoke toke like you do, and like your staff.
Have you ever
smoking toke down there?
Have you ever smoked the wacky tobacco, Mike?
No. Have you? Of course you have, because you're doing it now.
You caught us, Mike.
You nailed me, Mike. Ken, get that bong water changed. We got to get in on this.
I just covered the news, boys.
Mike, your question is, if they pass the CR, what happens in January? Do I have that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. They have to pass a new one if they don't get the appropriations bills passed by then.
Yep, and then we go into another shutdown, right?
Well, if they don't get it done, but... So the idea is that you get there are 12 separate appropriations bills. I'm answering your question, okay? There are 12 separate appropriations. The Senate has completed 3, and these are included in the measure that will be passed tonight. That's the problem with the hemp. That's why the hemp thing has come up. So because ag is one of those. So those 3 will be taken care of. They will be funded through September of next year. Those 3 categories, those 3 appropriations. There are 9 others that need to be dealt with. So we have until January 30th to deal with those 9. If they pass them in the Senate and the House, then they're dealt with. If they don't, then we have to deal with a government shutdown for those aspects of the government not already funded for the full year. Does that answer your question, Mike?
No, because what's happening tonight is are we funding the government through January till next September?
So I'm just going to hang up on you because you're not listening to me, and I don't know what to tell you. So, Mike, you asked the question about January 30th. I answered it fully. I love you, buddy. Thank you. Maybe find yourself a nice gumi and enjoy that for the night. But I don't know what to do with you. I cannot continue to bore the audience by answering your questions repeatedly if you're not going to listen to the answer. I know I was funning with you at the beginning of the call, but then you asked a question, what happens after January 30th? I gave you a complete answer, that the 3 appropriations are handled until the end of the fiscal year, September 30th. The other 9 have to be handled before the 30th. Otherwise, you have to do a CR for those until you get them handled. That's your complete answer. And for some reason, you did not wish to hear it. But thank you for your call, Mike. And I think it would do something for my soul if I was able to get together with you and pass you a fatty. I think that would be fabulous. Don't you think that would be fabulous, Jackson?
Matt, have you ever seen Anchorman 2?
Is that the one with the pandas?
No, that's the first one.
Okay, then no.
There's a scene in there about them doing crack on live television, and it made me think of that. Well, boys, apparently we learned one thing tonight. You can't do crack on live television.
And back to the news. I'll have to watch. I'll have to check that out. I don't know why I never saw Anchorman 2. I liked the first one. I think that was wise because I enjoyed the first one so much I didn't want the second one to ruin it. 9365 said, Matt, you successfully rage-baited Mike. I know.
You really did.
I got him all worked up because I was talking about dubs. Talking about the wacky tobacco.
Talking about the Maritahoochie.
Oh, yeah. The devil's lettuce. Those left-handed cigarettes cause you mental issues. You start playing the piano real fast. Faster. Michael wants to talk about weed. Different Mike. Hello, Michael.
Hey, how you guys doing? I listen to you guys a lot, so this is my first time calling in because of this subject.
Yes, sir.
I'm a type 1 diabetic. I have been for 55 years. I don't have the eye problems. I don't have the kidney problems, but I suffer from pain issues. And I purchased my THCA flower through the mail. It comes from other states. I don't roam the streets. I don't use it at work. It's only in the evenings to help me relax and to help with the pain so I can go to sleep. And what they're going to do is they're going to drive people like myself back onto the street. And this is not a good idea at all on any level. And the thing about the gummies, when you were talking to DJ Orlay, they're regulated. You have to be 21. You have to show an ID to purchase anything from any of these smoke shops or a convenience store. And, of course, just like you said with the alcohol, people fake IDs and all that. So how do you fix that? You can't. They've never been able to do that. But this is, like you said, it's very odd that they're throwing this in there in the middle of all this. And I'm not really a big supporter of Rand Paul, but for once he's doing the right thing, or at least trying to, for his own state and for other states. It's not just, it's states in the southeast, it's the west, it's Arizona, it's Colorado, it's probably 24 of them. So they're gonna cut a lot of throats, including a lot of people at work.
I am,
You're getting a regulated greenhouse grown product instead of something that's grown in the woods in Mexico.
Well, there are a lot of people that are against the legalization of marijuana, and I understand. I believe the sentiment, the genuinely felt sentiment, that they feel like it is potentially a negative introduction into people's lives. But my response to that has always been, Michael, it's already here. Right. And because it grows naturally, it is next to impossible to prevent it from being here. It is a matter of, you know, when you hear the phrase, you cannot legislate morality, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I don't, you know, I do believe that this will hurt Republicans at the polls. That is not a reason to change your core convictions on this matter necessarily, but it's a part of it. The mood of the nation has changed. You know, in the time that I've been doing a radio show such as this, when I started in this industry way back in 2000, to suggest in the Deep South that marijuana legalization is the right maneuver because of, you know, freedom and your freedom to do with your body what you choose to do with your body, it did not sit very well with people. Times have changed. Republicans have changed their attitude on this. Conservatives have changed their attitude on this. Not all, but some, many of them. And a recognition that there are many people that are law-abiding but for using marijuana, and these are conservative voters that will turn their backs on you. I had people earlier today on the super text line saying, I'll stop voting Republican. I'll stay away from the polls. I probably won't vote. I mean, I'm not making this up. I can read them to you. Saying I'm not suggesting that I'm voting Democrat because those people are crazy, but if this is the way the Republicans want to act on this issue, I'm out. I had someone tell me today that they're predisposed to vote J.D. Vance in 2028, but if J.D. Vance is taking an anti-marijuana stance and there's Gavin Newsom with a pro-marijuana stance, that might be a deciding factor. Should it be? I'm not saying it should be, but it is. People have moved on this issue in a tremendous fashion. And, oh, by the way, we're not talking about recreational marijuana. We're talking about THC-based product. We're talking about hemp-based product. And we're talking about sliding this in an appropriate bill in a fashion that just seems unseemly to me. It is 10 minutes until 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you, Ken Weaver. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy, and you. So as far as I can tell, my reading of these explosive email exchanges between, I guess it's Jeffrey Epstein writing Ghislaine Maxwell, and in this exchange, he says that Donald Trump has not bitten. They explain that Donald Trump has not involved himself in any way with some of the exploits that they've been involved with. I'll share some of those with you in the 5 o'clock hour. We can talk about that. I'm open to talking about that. I do not believe that this is the explosion that the political left or those in the mainstream press, like #NeverCNN, would have you believe. It occurs to me that this is just the latest in a laundry list, a long list of, this time we got him. That's what they say. They've been trying to destroy Donald Trump since 2016, since he began winning primaries. And they thought, remember the Billy Bush tape? They thought that was going to get him right before the election happened in 2016. I mean, and the FBI and all of those shenanigans and everything that James Comey was involved in and lying about it. And I could go on and on and on and on and on. Russiagate and this and that and the Ukrainian situation, that telephone call and the various impeachments and all of this, and look what he said here, and look what he did over there, and look at, and we're going to get, remember when they were going to get his tax returns, and then those tax returns were going to show all manner of illegal activity, and that's really going to get him, and then they showed his tax returns, and they're like, well, it's a big nothing burger. Y'all keep worrying about that which is a distraction, and hopefully the president will get back on track, because let me tell you something. He's not had a good week. And I've said this yesterday, and people yelled at me about it. It's not been a good week with the stupid stimulus check idea and the 600,000 Chinese nationals coming into the United States of America, and our universities can't support it. And then he told Laura Ingraham that we don't have enough talented people in the United States of America. And then, I mean, the idea on the filibuster, I mean, it's been idea after idea that I just disagree with. So I'm not here to tell you that Trump's had a very good week, but he needs to get back on track, back focused again now that the government's back open, and get back to that which he promised on the campaign trail, and I think he will. Jeff, in the meantime, is on the line with us. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Jeff. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been listening to the conversations about the THC ban, and I'm actually a store owner, so I kind of have a little bit different perspective. And we're already regulated as it is, especially with the new rules that are coming out under the ABC. And the only other regulation that you could do to hurt us any worse is to do what they're going to do today, and that's to ban nationwide. I have full-time employees. We have our health insurance. We've been in the community for 7 years. You know, we do a good business. We do an honest business, and we do it by the book. And it's just one hurdle after another. And people don't realize how regulated we already are. And then it's going to be even stricter through the ABC. It's just a whole different perspective, and people don't understand. I actually had both senators that wrote the bill come to my store. I tried to explain to them the different things that were going to happen, how this would affect everybody's life, and you know, it just no longer are people voting for the people, or you know, they're voting what they want to do. They're not representing us anymore, and that's what's very disappointing.
Well, that's really well said, Jeff. Thank you for your call. Keep listening, keep your chin up, and we'll keep trying to inform the general public on these matters and how it impacts people like you and the economy like ours. It is 5 o'clock. It's time for the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hang in there.